Well, our second reading comes from the Gospel of John this morning, and it is the familiar story of the raising of Lazarus. It is not found in any of the other Gospels except John's, and it is a curious story in many ways. First, Jesus hears about Lazarus' illness, but he doesn't come for many days. When he finally arrives, it's too late. Lazarus has died. Secondly, Jesus is so moved by the grief and the mourning for his beloved friend by his sisters and the community that was around him that he too weeps. But ultimately, the story shows that nothing can separate us from the love of God, not even death. Some believe that this story is used by the gospel writer as a prefiguring of Jesus' resurrection. Let us hear this reading from John's Gospel of the 11th chapter, verses 32 through 44. When Mary came where Jesus was and saw him, she knelt at his feet and said to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was greatly disturbed in spirit and deeply moved. He said, "Where have you laid him?" And they said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus began to weep. So the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could he who not have opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?" Then Jesus, again greatly disturbed, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and there was a stone lying against it. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, already there is a stench, because he has been dead now 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone. And Jesus looked upward and said, "Father, I thank you for having heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I have said this for the sake of the crowd standing here, so that they may believe that you sent me." And when he had said this, he cried out with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out!" And the dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. And Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Jesus weeping, a dead man walking out of a tomb, death defeated. Isaiah, as Leanne read, talking about the day when God will wipe away the tears of those who mourn and invite everyone into a feast of marrow-filled food and fine and well-aged wines. What a wonderful and wonder-filled images to ponder on this day of all days, the day after Halloween, All Saints' Day. Today we remember those who have gone on to the other side, or those who have gone home, as we sometimes say. Protestants have been a bit slow in recognizing this day because it's been associated with the saints recognized by the Catholic Church. But here we are, Presbyterians, all of us, on this day, remembering those saints in our lives, both living and dead. And it is good that we also look deeply into what it means for us to put death and life into the same meditation frame and see what wisdom they together have to teach us. Do you ever wonder about this story? What Lazarus did that day he came out of the tomb? What did he eat first? What did he say to the others? What possibly could he now have in common with those who had not died as he had? Could anyone know what he had gone through? I certainly have wondered what those who were witnesses that day did after the dead man came out of the tomb. Can you imagine having one of your brothers or your sisters die and then come back to life and not ask the question that we're all dying, no pun intended, to ask? What was it like to die? Will it be painful? Is there really life after death, or do we believe that just to relieve our own existential anxieties of non-being? Well, a man named Eugene O'Neill actually wrote a play titled Lazarus Laughed. Based on these questions in his play, he continued the story of the raising of Lazarus until his second death at the hands of the Romans. I read this play this week and found some very interesting insights into the meaning of this miraculous story from John's Gospel. The play begins where the biblical story leaves off, with Lazarus walking out of the tomb and Jesus' instructions to his sisters and to the community to unbind him. In the play, as they are unbinding him, they cannot resist the opportunity to ask him the question, what was it like dying? But to their amazement, Lazarus begins to chuckle ever so softly. He's not bitter. He's not like those who have claimed to die a clinical death and been restored to life, who talk about the tunnel of darkness and the bright light at the end of the tunnel that greets them and not wanting to come back. The first thing that Lazarus does, as he is set free from his burial clothes, is to embrace Jesus with soft laughter. And then he moves on to his sisters with a more hearty laugh. And by the time he reaches the entire community who have witnessed this amazing event, he is in a rip-roaring belly laugh. He looks around as if he is seeing the world for the first time. His eyes are clear, and he bends toward the earth and gives it a little pat as if touching a newborn baby. As he is drinking in this moment, he looks up at the sky and raises one hand, then another, and pulls them together as in prayer. And the first words tumble out of his mouth. Yes, yes, yes. It is as if he had been born again, this time as an enlightened old man. People around him do not understand his response, and so they ask him directly, Lazarus, tell us what it is like to die. And at this point, Lazarus begins to laugh even more intensely. And then he says this, listen, there is no death. Really, there is only life. There is only God. There is only incredible joy. He continues, death is not the way it appears from this side. Death is not an abyss into which we go into chaos. It is rather a portal through which we move into everlasting growth and everlasting life. Then he